Are y'all still rolling?
Me too.
Good. Did you get our...
We created Me Too.
That's beautiful.
I'm sitting here with Tarana Burke. She's the founder of the Me Too movement, and I'm not just talking about the hashtag Me Too campaign that started on the internet 2 years ago, but the original movement that Tarana founded back in 2006 as a way to combat sexual assault and violence. Today, obviously, we know the magnitude of the movement because even in the last year alone, over 19 million people used the hashtag Me Too to share their own stories and experiences with sexual assault. And lately, Tarana, you've been talking about what needs to happen next, which is restorative justice.
I think that we have to figure out what justice looks like, and I think we have to figure out how accountability happens. Some of the ways that we think about sexual violence and how to respond to sexual violence are all packaged within a crime and punishment framework.
Right.
There has to be some way to respond to people who've experienced harm that doesn't include sending a person to jail or even a person losing their job.
Right.
But I do believe that when you harm somebody, there has to be a response that you have to answer for harm you've caused.
Joe Biden and Lucy Flores, for example, which I think you've spoken about.
I have, yeah.
You know, what happened between them, it's completely different from the sexual assault allegations against Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
So how do we address that nuance without, you know, overblowing it, but also taking all survivor stories seriously?
With nuance. That's exactly how we do it, right? I think that you can't put everybody in the same bag. If you notice, when Lucy Flores came forward and talked about her experience, she didn't use the words Me Too. She didn't use the words predator. She didn't say sexual assault.
Right.
She said what he did made her uncomfortable and it made her feel powerless. The thing that resonated for me was that if we don't have a response to that, if we don't have the person who caused harm, in that case, Joe Biden, responding and saying, I recognize and understand what you experienced, and I want to learn how to be different.
Right.
Then how does the the young girl who has a coach that's really touchy and who's very popular and everybody loves the coach, but you don't want to say anything because you don't want to rock the boat? How does she talk about her discomfort and powerlessness, right? It's about those people in leadership have to be examples of what accountability can look like.
We've seen so many times over the past 2 years how the right or the Republican Party responds to the sexual assault allegations, whether it's for Donald Trump or Justice Kavanaugh. What's the best way to address that?
Actually, it's not just Republicans, right? Democrats don't respond much better. I'm not going to put, they don't. I mean, we've seen that. And so I'm not going to put that on even just a political party. I think the right wing is worse in many ways.
Right.
And they are relentless in creating this sort of other side of the debate. But I don't think we've seen too many appropriate responses on any side of the aisle, to be quite honest. No. How have Democrats responded better? We've had, when Joe Biden when Lucy Flores came forward with simply saying, I was uncomfortable and I felt powerless, and this is inappropriate behavior for a vice president, people told her to shut up, you're going to ruin this because we need Biden to beat Trump. I was attacked for supporting her. People who supported her were attacked, right? So this is not a Democrat or Republican issue kind of stuff.
So what's one thing that you would hold the left accountable for that would help the entire conversation and movement move forward?
Put something in the Democratic debates about sexual violence. It's not the right doing the debates. It's not the right running right now. These are Democrats who are running right now. If you want to show us how you care about this issue, raise the question, raise the issue.
Tell me about your new hashtag.
Me Too Voter.
Me Too Voter.
Yeah, this is one of the most important elections of our lifetime, if not the most.
Right.
And so there's been no conversation from both the media or from the candidates about sexual violence.
Which is kind of crazy.
It's crazy because Me Too is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's been one of the biggest media stories of this decade.
Right.
And yet there's no conversation about it in the debates.
Nobody's asked that question.
Nobody's asked the question. They haven't raised it as a platform issue and said, when I am in leadership in this country, I plan to pass the Be Heard Act. I plan to talk about statute of limitations. I plan to deal with Title IX. You know, there's so many different ways that they could be addressing things that the American public, who are also survivors, the taxpayers, who are also survivors, the voters, who are also survivors. These are things that we think about.
How do we get people to not look at survivors from a place of pity?
This is another reason why we have Me Too voter. The thing
Right.
is, if you survive sexual violence, any form really, but if you, I think that if people understood what it took on you with the emotional, mental, spiritual, physical toll it takes to experience sexual violence, including harassment, then you'd understand what it takes to stand up and say that it happened to you, right?
It's not easy.
It's not easy. If you are still here and functioning and trying and you were able to declare yourself a part of Me Too and say, this happened to me, or you weren't able to do that, but you are working really hard to have a life every day, there's power in survival. There's power in getting up every day after something like this tried to kill you. If politicians can see us as a constituency that has a lot of power and that can move the needle, like we can affect change, I think they will respect the issues that come out of sexual violence and dealing with sexual violence more.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there like do you do handshake? A handshake?
Yeah. Handshake is great, yeah.
Formal.
No.
I feel like there should be a Me Too, like.
Girl, people then they'd call us a gang, right?
Probably.
Yeah.